EA Sports. It's in the game.
Welcome, guys. My name is John. We're going to be talking about not custom tactics, but player traits. And guys, this is where we're going to dive deep, essentially, into this whole set here. Okay, but before we begin, I just want to say, guys, my name is John Sims. I have qualified for FGS. I'm also a pro FIFA coach. So I have tons of clients where I teach and every single day go over analysis and gameplay. So if you'd like to set up a session, we can cut for anything you'd like in the game, trading, anything. And feel free to join my daily content video where I talk about the market, analysis, SBCs, everything you need to know daily, what's happening in the market daily. So check that series out. But basically, guys, today we're going to be talking about player traits. And so traits are, as you guys may know, every player has essentially a trait. If you guys go over to, flip in, we pull up a player, they're gonna have some traits here. So like you see this technical dribbler, you see outside foot shot trait, speed dribbler, flair, you see the CPU AI. We're gonna cover everything about this, and I'll explain to you guys basically a deep dive analysis of what a pro is utilizing when they're using these different traits and whatnot, and why some of these may be very effective and some may not be. So before we begin, the first thing we want to talk about are standard traits, CPU traits, career mode, and Volta. So they all matter in different areas. So the standard trait are when you and the AI both use those traits, they both can impact the way you play with the player. Similar to, if we go back to Vinny here, as you can see, a trait like outside foot shot trait and flair both not have the CPU AI. They do not have the CPU AI. That basically means that only that you are able to use the flair trait and outside foot shot trait. The CPU AI traits means that the impact the player plays, but only when they're being controlled by the computer. That's usually in squad battles. So that's what they like to talk about in squad battles, or just in your standard game mode, gameplay, whatnot. Now, career mode traits, then they have separate traits that are in career mode, and then Volta. Different traits and different animations for Volta. Generally, these are covering animations. Now we're going to kind of go through all these different traits and time to talk about it. Okay, so the finesse shot is probably is one of the most effective and one of the most concerned ones when it comes to high-level players. They want to talk about the finesse shot all day long. A player with a finesse shot trait will get the full amount of curl when taking a finesse shot. When the ball is on the ground, this can change how the ball will get to the target. It does not change the target itself. Basically, it's saying that if we take a card like Vinny Jr., we go over to his stats, we look at 84 curve, let's say he has the finesse shot trait, and he's got good long shot and power. Basically, it says that it will go straight to 84, it will go straight up to that 84 curve, and get you goals, generally, essentially. So the higher that is, so like a guy like Messi, like if we go over to Messi's got the finesse shot trait. He's got that boot of a left foot, right? And the reason why Messi is so insane is that finesse shot trait right there. And then he's got 93 curve. So what happens in his 80? Oh, well, I mean, if you put he goes up to 91 and 94 with the 99 finishing. Basically, it's almost impossible for the keeper to stop, and that's why you're still having trouble with even outside shots, because it goes straight to 93, regardless of its curve, whichever it affects the animation that exists. And so that is huge when it comes to finishing and taking those timing of shots. That's absolutely phenomenal. Now, outside foot shot trait is basically you're kicking the ball at the outside of the foot. And so players like Vinny, there's a ton of players that have the outside foot shot trait. Salah, this is kind of like trying to put into a player personality of a player that doesn't necessarily have a weakness per se on its weak foot, but it's one of those things that they're trying to balance and get them like a 5-star weak foot essentially, but where they use their own foot, and so it's kicking from the outside instead of on the inside. So essentially that one's pretty easy to understand. Power header is absolutely huge and critical when it comes to like center backs and like defense. And so like what you'll see are players like, I believe players like Vieira have, even his 86, they have this power header trait because paired with being 6'4", jumping, and the strength, he's just, and have you ever felt like those guys just come in and bowl through? I believe BVD has it as well, and so like that's why these guys, yep, there you are. That's why these guys have just boom, they just pop through, guys. And it's not just luck that I remember these type of players. It's because I have gone through these so many times to remember all these type of players. Now, long throw in, as you can probably understand, it just means that they can throw the ball further. Giant throw in is just even further. Are these that effective in game? Probably not. Now, granted, what's funny about this is you just don't see this in game. I think it's a stat and a trait that I don't think people really even recognize. I don't think there's even very many players that have the giant throw in or yet the long throw in. So I wouldn't necessarily look too much into that. Early cross was just an AI trait. So basically, it just sends the ball. They're able to hit a faster cross in. Takes powerful driven kicks. Now this does make the free kick a little bit different. It basically says a player with this trait will start their free kick run up from further back, producing a more powerful free kick. The swerve. You don't see swerve that much. You really don't see swerve that much, but a player with this trait will have reduced difficulty in executing an accurate outside of the foot shot trait. This will have so basically the swerve essentially is trying to say that it's a pass. So like if you ever see like KDB make those weird passes, or Salah, they kick the ball from the outside of the foot and it kind of like swerves around. Basically that it's more of a pass. It's not I don't think it's supposed to be a shot. Full amount of curl when passing on the ground. So basically, it's the finesse shot trait as a pass. That's what it's saying. That's what the swerve is. You don't see a lot of players with the swerve, technically, I don't believe. And then we have fancy passes. Basically, a player trait with this is less likely to make errors when attempting flare passes. And so what flare passes are with flare is essentially you hold down L2, and then you get a faster animation. So if a player is running behind you, instead of turning and clicking X, what you do is you hold down L2X, and he'll go whoop, and like hit the ball from with like a back heel, and so that is one of the most crucial mechanics that you should be utilizing to become more efficient on your attack is the flare. So this is absolutely critical for high level players. It's one of those that we look for. We really look for the flare. We look for finesse shot. Those are the main two I look for when I'm selecting players when it comes to traits, at least. So outside foot shot trait, give or take. But a player with this trait is less likely to make errors when attempting flare moves. They will sometimes execute a flare pass or a flare shot without even having to use the flare modifier controls. That means it'll be very, very effective, and they'll use a higher lob for their short lob passes if there are players in the way. And this is another area where the trait over animates against a different player. So you may be playing the play right, and then you see those like weird moments where Marquinhos just puts his leg up and he knocks it, or BVD comes up and he jumps and hits it. That's because they may not have the flare trait. But if you have the flare trait, there's a higher chance that that ball will get through. So I agree with this, and I don't agree with that type of gameplay. But at the esports level, I don't like it. But in the aspect of a football simulator, I actually don't mind it. Injury prone. Basically, they get injured a lot. Solid player, but is reduced of getting injured. Rushes out of goal. Basically, a very aggressive goalkeeper. And then cautious with crosses. Comes for crosses. However, you guys can change. You can make custom tactics to kind of override these. Bicycle kicks only for Volta, because if you hold down L2 circle, anybody should perform a bicycle kick. I believe I can get even center backs to do it. So, but leadership used along with the one player club and team player. as part of the decision-making process in choosing a captain for a team if the designated captain is not in the lineup or is removed via game. So it's 100% a visual effect. Essentially, the leadership, basically the guy will, let's say you have VVD, he has the leadership, but you have Mo Salah on your squad, and you have him as the quote captain. You sub off Mo Salah, he runs up and gives a visual effect, pulls off the armband, gives it to VVD. That's all it's saying. One player club, used as part of the decision-making process for choosing a captain. If its team's designated is not in the club, it will be removed via mid-game via substitution red card along with the team name late. So it's the same concept, same idea. Team player used as part of the decision-making part of choosing a captain. Why did they make 3 traits for doing this? I don't know, but all 3 of those will affect who becomes the captain, essentially. Dives into the tackles, that's an AI. Chip shot. You know what's weird is it says it's AI, the chip shot technique, but there's something weird about the chip shot with the AI because for some reason whenever I take a chip shot with with whoever has the chip shot, I don't know what it is, if there's a mechanic in there or something. I almost don't believe it's just CPU AI because a guy like Griezmann, he's got the trait, he's got the chip shot trait, and I don't understand it. But when I take a shot with Griezmann, and I take a chip shot, I just get a lot better. But it might be a flare finesse shot that's working instead. But again, it's saying the CPU, so I always go off of what they give us because generally that's how they do it. Tech dribbler, CPU. Speed dribbler, CPU. Long passer, CPU. Long shot taker, CPU. Majority of these guys are all CPU. Now, we have covered the majority of everything. If you guys have comments, drop it below. We can go into this a little bit further. However, when we're talking about pros, we're talking about finesse shot trait. We're talking about outside foot shot trait. We're talking about power header. We're not talking here. We're not talking here. We're talking maybe swerve. And then, but the flare for sure. So flare and finesse shot trait are massive. The power headers maybe like one of those that we would like, but it's not a necessity. But when it comes to trying to pick out attackers, flare is 100% necessity, and finesse shot is one of those things that just drives the price up about 200,000 coins. So when you see player prices drive up for a lot of coins, generally the case is just maybe a finesse shot trait, maybe a reason why he's 100,000 coins heavier than the other opponent, the other player. In that case, guys, if you're not playing at the highest level, I don't necessarily say look at these, but it is knowledge, it is good information to know when going into the game, all the stats of your players and their abilities on the pitch. That way you can play with them better. I'm talking about not just stats, I'm talking about work rates, I'm talking about player size, I'm talking about body style, animations. I'm talking everything about that. The more you know about the game, the better you can play. Until next time, guys, my name is Johnny, and I hope that you found this video useful.